So our next speaker is, coming from a company which is kind of enjoying a COVID moment because, it has sent e-commerce into hyperdrive. Please welcome Chee, CEO of Carousell. And Chee is on the other side of Singapore, and he's also dialing in.
Hey, Siew, Hoon. Good to see you.
Good to see you again, Chee. How are you?
Very good, very good.
Good. Okay, well, let's get our audience to know you because you don't come from the travel industry. So I read that you took part in your first triathlon in 1985 when you were a very young man. And then you waited 20 years before doing the second, right? And now you do triathlons, biathlons, marathons, whatever thons. How do these races prepare you for what we're going through with COVID, Chee?
Wow, it's amazing you managed to find that remote part of my past.
I know how to dig.
Yeah, indeed. I was quite adventurous. Started out participating in the first triathlon that Singapore hosted some few decades ago. Yeah, but interestingly, now that you ask, I think thinking about it, these experiences, I think, do have some bearings on how we approach life and career in general, not just navigating the COVID situation that we are going through now. For example, as in these races and events, life is a long race. It's definitely not a sprint. So it helps to have perseverance, patience, and passion as well to survive and to succeed.
And yeah, I think we heard from Keith this morning from not morning. It feels like it's the morning, but from Singapore Tourism Board that say that we are, Singapore is in for the long haul, in terms of recovery. It's going to take us a longer time. So we got to be prepared for that long race, Chee.
Yeah, that's right. And that's why you need to pace yourself as well, right? Like in these kind of races, you don't want to, get off the starting blocks and then sprint and then discover that you can't last even half the race, right? So I think it's equally applicable in many parts of our life and our career journeys as well.
Yeah. So speaking of your career, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say that the other thing is that, oftentimes in these races and also as you navigate life, it sometimes feels like you're competing against the world, right? But actually, you're really just competing against yourself, mastering yourself, right? And also as you try to master yourself, through these activities, oftentimes one would discover that the boundaries of your own abilities are sometimes broader than your own expectations. So therefore, you don't really know how far you can go, what you can achieve until you try it, you push it, just like what you would do in life and in career.
Yeah, I guess, that's true of this event too, is like, you don't know what you don't know, right? So ignorance is bliss. So now I want to come back to your career. So you were with Sennheiser Asia for 10 years and then you were Grab for 2 years. During those 2 years, this was when it competed against and acquired Uber's Southeast Asian business. So why do you think Grab succeeded in competing against a global giant?
Yeah, well, I think there are many reasons, right? It's usually multifaceted, not just a single dimension. But it does boil down to a few key things, right? One of the factors I believe it's the obsession to localize their product and their approach for each market instead of just replicating a one-size-fits-all model. So, for example, they accepted cash payment early on, as there are many riders in some of the markets that do not own credit cards. And at the same time, they were also working very hard to enable more customers to embrace digital payment with their own digital payment solution, GrabPay. So as a result, this also allowed them to be more inclusive of more user segments. And I think the other part of it is that, they're also quite fortunate to be endowed with a lot of people who are very mission-oriented. And they were very single-minded in iterating with ever better products and solving problems. And these themes, it's something that I see again when I join Carousell. There's clearly a very high level of obsession with localization and also ensuring relevance for each community that we serve.
Yeah, especially
And
at this time. Especially at this time. I mean, it is about localization right now, right? Because we are in such a localized world. I just want to move on to the carousel slide that we have, and you raised 80 million.
cornerstone of our platform, we saw a very sharp increase in shipping requirements. So to facilitate that, we then worked really hard to partner with local delivery service providers. For example, Blue, GoGo Van, U Parcel, Grab Express, so that we can offer these easy shipping solutions and also discounted rates that our users can take advantage of.
So you really moved very fast. In the earlier panel, we talked about the blurring of boundaries between marketplaces and maybe the exhibition business, blurring of boundaries between marketplaces and travel platforms. Because you guys got the community. So we had Rakuten got into travel, Blibli in Indonesia, we got Kupang in South Korea, right? So any plans by Carousell then to get into right now what is a very niche sector, which is travel?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I suppose whenever a business consider expanding, it's always convenient to look at adjacencies that you can tap on, right? I think the good thing about a business like ours is that we're a general classifieds marketplace, which means we're almost like an everything to everyone. So incidentally, just to be sure, we actually already have a travel category on our platform where users, both casual users and also, merchants, they're already, listing local and overseas travel related items. For example, hotel stay vouchers, ferry tickets, and in fact, of course, travel companies can also consider, signing up an account to advertise their products that potentially can reach millions of users that are already on our platform, right?
Yeah, but given that now we have moved into a domestic world, right? And you guys got the domestic customers. Have you seen a pickup in travel listings, perhaps on Carousell? Do you feel that that's an opportunity for Carousell to dig deeper into travel?
Well, I mean, the pandemic has changed a lot of things. Very specific to travel, we have not seen a very specific spike per se. So at the moment, it's just another category that we have. And of course, in line with our approach to business, we are still, focusing on our core businesses and supporting our community during this time. So for example, the identified verticals that we've already been working on, the likes of autos, properties, electronics, furnitures, and things like that are something that we look at very, very closely to make sure that we ensure success.
Okay, let me ask the people in the audience here, do any of you use Carousell? Wow, you got almost, 50%, more than 60% of the people using Carousell here. So that's great, Chisun. Now, the other thing we discussed, and we talked behind your back because you're not here, we talked about the blurring between marketplaces and exhibitions, right? And actually, you and I met during a virtual event when we talked about the future of exhibitions. Now, Carousell, you run a very massive offline called Carousell LAN, right? Do you think you'll do a physical fair again, or are you just going to do it virtual? And do you think then when you do it virtual, you're going to keep it open 365 days a year, 24 hours a day?
Well, that's an excellent question. In truth, we are already a virtual carousel land 24/7, 365 days, effectively. Why did we have the physical form of our platform and we call it Carousell Land? It was primarily started as an event in selling for consumers. But the physical action of meeting up is really very key to keeping that thriving community. But of course, we also had other objectives, right? Besides just engaging our community, we wanted to use these events to increase downloads, to increase transactions, and also to increase listings. But you know what? Of course, this year, the COVID has put a very different spin on everything. But we've also discovered that, thankfully, we managed to still achieve very good numbers without the physical event. So I think going forward, we will continue to do what it takes for us to build better communities and improve our engagement. Whether or not we want to go back to having a physical event will be looked at on a larger basis. We haven't, to be sure, we haven't planned any such events this year. But never say never, right?
Yeah, but it's also proven that maybe the physical event didn't do much for your business, right? Because you still managed to get all that engagement, get all the listings and all that, in a virtual world. And digital just allows you to measure. And e-commerce is, platforms like you is all about measurement. So you're probably thinking differently about physical.
Yeah. I mean, we go back to basics, right? Ultimately, like I said, the event was created to increase engagement, increase downloads, increase transactions and listings. All these, if they are achieved equally well, or maybe even better without that, why not, right? Yeah. So I think we are constantly rethinking. Yeah.
It's such a moment of truth, actually, for exhibitions and trade fairs. This is such a moment of truth for conferences like ours as well. So, okay, now I'm going to focus on you as the business traveler, because you used to travel a lot. How are you rethinking your own business travel in the future? As Carousell too, are you slashing all your budgets?
Well, the good thing is that during this period, we sort of discovered huge savings in our T&E part of our cost line items. But I think the pandemic, on the one hand, has forced many people to explore and even accept new ways of work. And on the other hand, made many of us discover and also realize that there are very different ways to organize work which are equally effective, maybe even more so, right? And that applies to not just whether to work in the office or work from home, but also the notion of whether to travel for meetings or collaborate remotely. And I suspect many of us will come to the conclusion that both these approaches have its appeal, and we will likely settle on some form of a hybrid approach. At Carousell, for example, we have always had to work as a nimble and flexible unit anyway. So with Singapore as our regional hub, our team has grown accustomed to working remotely with regional counterparts and partners. So I think we are quite happy with that. We will continue doing that, and video meetings of such nature is not likely to go away anytime soon, right? We will probably continue to use that.
Well, you're definitely going to travel less, though, I reckon, next year. And, for the rest of the, I think I'm doomed to meet you now over Zoom and never physically. All right. So we want to go through rapid fire, okay? You as a traveler. I bet you're missing your holiday though. So the first place you will travel to for your first holiday when you can.
There are so many choices. We are just spoiled for choice. But if I were to pick a locale, right, I think Europe would be a place I would go to.
Okay. The
Yeah.
airline that's done the most to keep me loyal during this period.
I think it has got to be SIA. Not necessarily what they have done in recent months alone, right? But it's an accumulative effort in making me feel like I'm a loyal customer.
Okay, the hotel group that's done the most to keep you loyal.
Marriott, Sheraton.
Okay. Private villa or hotel?
I think I prefer hotel, with people around, lots of facilities that I can tap on within easy reach.
All right. What can travel do better for travelers like you?
I think it just has got to be more hassle-free. Hassle-free planning, hassle-free airport clearance, with COVID, with all the security considerations, it probably has gotten a lot worse over the years, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody can solve the problem of creating a hassle-free airport clearance, I think that will be a boon.
Well, we're working on that, Chee Soon. So thank you
Excellent.
very much for dropping in, Chee Soon, and see you sometime soon. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us.
Sure. Thank you. You have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you.